Are you a football fan? Have you ever found yourself wondering, what in the world was that ref thinking? Well, Mike D, the referee, is here to help you. Join me on Whistle Talk as I talk to professionals on the field and in the booth to help you understand what is going on inside the mind of a football official. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our next episode of Whistle Talk. Before we begin, just a reminder, if you're liking what you're listening to, please hit those like buttons, hit all that fun stuff, give me a review, tell me what's going on, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. Also, make sure you go to my YouTube channel, check out the YouTube channel, we have everything there. And if you go to my website and you see the links popping up on your screen, you can find all our previous episodes. Make sure to go back and take a listen to all our episodes. Make sure you're up to date with everything that is going on. So today we have with us Mr. Bruce Cronauer. Bruce is coming to us from the state of New Jersey. Again, I've been keeping it local the last couple episodes from our Central Jersey chapter. Am I correct in saying that, Bruce?
Yes, sir. Since 1992.
All right. So Bruce is, again, another one of the individuals that has been really helping out all of our officials in the state of New Jersey with our off-season Zoom meetings. And he's been a great resource for me the last year or so of actually introducing me to different people to help with this podcast. So I really do appreciate everything you've done for me personally, Bruce, and everything that you've done for our state. So with that being said, why don't you introduce yourself to the lovely crowd we have out there?
Sure, I'd be happy to. My name is Bruce Cronauer. I am living in Manalapan, New Jersey. I've been here for a couple of years. I've been a football official since 1992. Mostly in the umpire position, a couple of white hat games, and last year or so I've transitioned to a short wing. I am a member of the Central Jersey chapter, where I am I am the treasurer for this year. Also a member of the CCFO out of Pennsylvania. I am affiliated with the Centennial Conference, the Landmark Conference, and the Sprint League Conference. Those three conferences keep us kind of busy on Saturdays during the college season.
Can you just explain? You're the first person to mention about the Sprint League. I know what the Sprint League Conference is, but explain to our listeners about the Sprint League and what goes on with that.
Sure. I believe you had my boss, Jim Kapoor, on as a guest in the past. He is the signer for the Sprint League and the Landmark and Centennial Conference. Sprint League is a league comprised mostly of schools that have a lot of football players that want to play, and basically they're players that can't weigh more than 185 pounds. They play regular football. They play NCAA rules. They just have a separate league of their own, and the league consists of teams like from Penn, University of Penn, Ivy League, Cornell, Army, Navy. They're probably the two best teams in the league. There's a small college up in New Jersey called Caldwell College. They field a team. They play out of Caldwell High School. There is a team in New York, Malloy, that's brand new this year, and the other team is St. Thomas Aquinas, which is up by right over the Tappan Zee Bridge. And then there's Mansfield University and Chestnut Hill University in Pennsylvania. So they comprise the league, 9 teams. They play eight teams, and they do have a conference final. The last 2 years it's been Army, Navy, and I believe Navy's won both contests.
So for those that have never seen the game, if you want to watch a fast football game, that is a game. Like you said, it's still going by the regular NCAA rules, but just weight limits. So your offensive linemen are almost the same weight as your quarterback and defensive linemen. So it's a lot of athletic guys out there that just might not be big enough to play at a Division I or even a Division III level, but still love the game and want to get involved. So that it's a really cool league, and like I said, it's a lot of fun and fast. So if you're around, definitely take a look at one of those games.
Yeah, 100%. Agree with you 100%, Mike. The offensive linemen run as fast as the running backs, run as fast as the defensive backs, and they do play fast football.
Yep. Yep, definitely going to be a little bit more athletic sometimes than your 340-pound O lineman, but we're getting a lot of athletic 340-pound linemen. Just watched a couple of them last night at the high school game that I got to go see last night. The IMG Bergen Catholic football game. Whew, they had some big boys on both sides of the ball there.
Yeah, yeah, both teams are loaded for sure. I think BC has a couple guys Division 1 ticket next year, and I know I had one of their games last year, and they're really good. I'm not sure
Yeah.
about IMG. I didn't see them play, but I know BC is good.
Well, IMG was able to kind of lean on them a little bit in the second half, and I think it was 27-14 final for IMG, team out of Bradenton, Florida. So really good football. They travel the country and play an extremely tough schedule. I think they were number 9 in the country versus number 14 in the country, if I remember correctly. I could be off with my numbers at that time, but so get back to our subject here. The main reason why I wanted to have Bruce onto the show today is as the season for here in New Jersey, it is starting. Tonight is opening night, or last night was opening night in New Jersey, and tonight's actually the big opening night of week 0. I wanted to dive into one of the more controversial penalties, and I say that with kind of air quotes of controversial, but a penalty that, well, we probably hear the most from the sidelines, from the coaches, from the fans. That was holding. So I want to dive into our holding penalties here to help try to clarify for everybody out there the different things that we're looking for on the field when it comes to the penalty of holding. So with that, I got a little bit of a PowerPoint slide here that Bruce and I have talked about that I'm going to present on the screen, and then I'm going to let Bruce kind of talk our way through it. He's very familiar. I'm not going to lie, I stole a lot of this PowerPoint material from the people that we have in our state association. So here we go, our NFHS rules. And let me see if I can make this bigger here. Try to go with view slideshow. There we go. All right, Bruce, can you see that?
I certainly can.
All right. So up on the screen now, I've got what the National Federation's rules are for both holding on the offensive side and the defensive side. And not much of a difference.
No, not at all.
So
Not
it
at
says
all.
an offensive player, with the exception of the ball carrier, exception of the runner, shall not use hands, arms, legs to hook, lock, clamp, grasp, encircle, or hold an opponent in an effort to restrain the opponent. That's Rule 921C in the rule book. 923C talks about a defensive player. They shall not use their hands or arms to hook, lock, clamp, grasp, encircle, or hold in an effort to restrain an opponent other than the runner. So your biggest difference is, well, the runner can do it, and the defense can do it to the runner. Other than that, we got a holding penalty. So how often, Bruce, are you seeing a lot of defensive holding penalties being called?
They're becoming more frequent, especially on pass plays. You see a lot of guys on the like defensive backs, maybe a linebacker here or there. They are holding, coming off the line of scrimmage, and often been told on the defensive side it's a two-step process. If the quarterback's looking to throw the ball to receiver and the receiver's being held up, you have a penalty. If the quarterback delivers the ball, then it changes from a defensive holding to a DPI. Other than that, you don't really see it much. Other than in a passing play, once in a blue moon, you might see a defensive player hold an offensive player up so the linebacker, the second level, can get into the running back, basically a run, pull and shoot type of thing.
Yep.
The defensive lineman will get up, hold the offensive lineman so he can't get to the second level, and frees up the linebacker to get to the player quickly. And so we do see that maybe called a couple times in high school. You see that a lot in college.
I can honestly say I've called a defensive holding penalty once, and it was actually on a long field goal attempt. And like you were talking about, the defensive lineman tried to grab the offensive lineman and pull them to create a gap for somebody from the second level to come up the middle to block the field goal. So that and they were pretty blatant with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're most likely seeing it on the wings with the pass plays. And again, you brought up a key point that we're going to really dive into. It's going to be at that point of the attack. If it's the backside receiver and the quarterback's not even looking there, probably going to keep that hanky tucked deep in the pocket at that point in time.
Yeah, it's definitely a talk to though. You want to tell the kid, hey, listen, number four, I saw what you did. No good. No bueno. Let's not
Yep.
do that again.
And there's our preventative officiating right there. Absolutely. So let's go to our next slide. All right. So as you see, we got our holding is a 10-yard penalty, and our holding or obstruction, the legal use of hands, it's all the same signal. Just grabbing the wrist, okay, your basic grabbing of the wrist and calling out holding, and then pointing to the side, identifying who the individual was on that hold. And so you brought it up just before. Now, difference between holding and DPI. What's a DPI penalty going to be?
DPI be 15 from if it's an incomplete pass, it'd be 15 from the previous spot.
Yep. So that is a very key thing. So we got to know when the ball is released. And again, that's a tough one for our deep wing officials. Seeing that when the ball is released and knowing if it's an interference play or if it's just a hold where they're looking to just lock the receiver down and not allow them to come out. So,
And
quick question for you.
I was just saying, you got to remember, neither one of these are an automatic first down at the high school level.
Absolutely.
If you have a defensive holding penalty and it's 2nd and 13, well, it's going to be 2nd and 3 now instead of second, depending on what the result of the play was. And the DPI, if you don't if the 15 yards don't get your first down, you're going to repeat whatever down you're at.
So I got a question for you, Bruce, and we're going to stick with more of the outside guy here. A lot of people see it with the NFL and in the college game. Well, what happens if that hold happens to the wide receiver within the first 5 yards of the play? Do we got anything?
In high school, you do, yes.
Yep.
It's holding. Different levels have different penalty interpretations, and that's the big difference between the rule books. I was when I first started in college, there was 232 rule differences between high school and college alone, and most of them are
Oof.
penalty enforcements, timing things. But 232 rule differences, you got to know the difference.
Yep, and that is definitely a big one, and that's one that we hear often again because of people watching the games on the NFL games on Sunday and the NCAA games on Saturday. There is a difference between that. So the 5 yard restriction doesn't come into play at the high school level.
No.
So our next slide here, and I talked about this on our previous or on one of my previous shows, is now the enforcement of the penalties. And the holding was probably the biggest one with this new change that just came out 2 years ago. Because a couple of years ago, it used to be an offensive hold behind the line of scrimmage and behind the end of the run. We would be penalizing from that penalty mark, from that spot of that foul. So if that foul occurred 7 yards in the backfield, we were going basically 17 yards from that point of this foul. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was just a drive killer. So this slide here kind of changed it. We put it into place last year. So this is our second year in the NFHS, excuse me, that we're going with, and it kind of aligns more with our NCAA rules here, so it's not truly a killer of a penalty. If the penalty happens downfield and it's a run that crosses the line of scrimmage, then we're going to go from a different spot. So where would the spot be from that one? So if we have a hold on the 27 and the ball carrier runs it to the 25, so
You're going to go from the end of the run back 10 yards.
Yep, from the end of the run in that scenario. So
Yeah.
we'd go from the 25-yard line. So if it was 1st and 10 from the 20, ball carrier gained 5 yards, but the hold happened 7 yards, we're going to go back from that 25-yard line, and then we're still going to replay the down. So
That's
so
correct.
just a quick refresh for those that may have missed that previous episode.
If I can interject something here, I started in 1992 in high school football. Since 1993, they've talked about changing this rule, and they finally did it 2 years ago, like you stated, Mike. And one of the main reasons is if you had an offensive hold in the backfield, you were double popping that team. A, they had a hold, and B, it was from the spot of the foul. And if it was 10 yards deep, you're going 20 from the original line of scrimmage because, instead of being first and 17, it's now first and 27, whatever it might be. And you just put teams in holes that they couldn't recover from.
Absolutely, yeah, and in the high school game especially, it's really really difficult to get yourself out of those +20 type situations. A holding penalty in its own right is a drive killer for a majority of teams. That if you're adding another 5-10 yards to it, I mean, teams would just might as well run the punter out at that point in time and just go
Yeah.
and play defense. So I'm a big proponent of this change. I do like it a lot, and I think most of the coaches like it a lot too. So,
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
all right. So here's our nuts and bolts of it. And this is the slide we're going to keep up here for a good amount of time, Bruce. Talking about the different things that we as officials are looking for, and a lot of people think that this foul, the holding penalty, falls more on the umpire's shoulders. But I could tell you that this is a crew call. This is not just an umpire call where a lot of people, again, just assume that that guy in the middle is seeing that. Now, yeah, I am looking for that. Okay, this is probably the live ball foul that I am calling the most. Maybe face mask in there with it. But these are our keys. This is what we're looking for. This is what our wings are looking for. This is what our deep wings are looking for too. Again, especially on that pass play that you're talking about. And this is also what our referee is going to be looking for as they periph, because the referee in the state of New Jersey is eyeballing that right tackle. So, Bruce, you want to go through the examples of what we're looking for here? The three main things.
Sure. The first one up is grab and restrict. The player extends his arm across the body and pulls back, restricting the opposition. Exception: the defender makes no effort with offensive player's hands inside. Basically, the keys of an umpire are the center guard tackle, um, and you're basically looking to see what their first step is after the snap of the ball, and if they
Mm-hmm.
get their hands inside, you basically when their hands are inside and you're in the defensive side of the ball, you really don't see what's going on there much, so you give them a pass. But as the player starts to go away from them, and they don't let release, then you get to see the grab and restrict, and they're not giving the defensive player a straight line to the ball carrier. That's when the penalties occur. Try to talk to the kids. I say, hey, you get your hands inside, all good enough. If the defensive guy breaks away from you, just push him away
Yep.
because you otherwise you're going to get stuck. Um, Now sometimes you don't call it because the defensive player he runs into that block and does nothing to get out of it.
Yes. And
So
that's a huge one that we hear a lot. And you'll see kids running back with their hands straight up in the air saying, I'm being held, I'm being held. But you're doing nothing to try to get off that hold. We're not going to throw that one.
100%. You're Mike. You're 100% correct with that, and that's the biggest thing. The kids put their hands up. Hey, I'm being held. Well, yeah, but you're doing nothing to get out of it, and I'm not going to help you with that. If you do something to try to get away from it, and he takes away your feet, then yeah, we're going to call it 100% of the time. But if you just go into it and just run your feet a little bit, you're going to get nothing. Nothing for me at least. Some guys might call it because they hear the voices in the background, but those are few and far between.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to talk to both sides. You got to talk to the offensive guy. Hey, watch your hands. If he gets by you, and let him go and just push on him. You're gonna take him off his path to the running back or quarterback if you just push on him. And the same thing with the defensive guy. Hey, guy, I see what you're doing. You got to break away from that. I'm not going to give you a freebie. For free 10 yards every time you put your hands up or you're saying you're being held. It doesn't simply work like that.
And this is a penalty too. And I'm a former high school and college offensive lineman, and Bruce, I can proudly say that I was never called for a holding penalty in my high school and college career as an offensive lineman.
Wow, one of the few.
Yeah, One of the few. Now, there may have been a couple other penalties here and there. Definitely a false start, different things like that. It also didn't help. I had a club on one hand because I tore the ligaments in my right hand for a year, so that completely took out the holding aspect there. But this penalty in general, I classify it, and I don't say this like insultingly at all, but I call it a lazy penalty because typically
Yes.
this penalty occurs when the offensive linemen stop moving their feet. If it's just like you said, if they are holding and their hands are inside, and now all of a sudden their feet stop, and now the defensive player is still making their move, now you're going to have the grab and restrict. Where if that offensive player kept running their feet, even where the defender wanted to go and kept their hands inside, we're probably not going to have anything. So it's a lot of times where their feet get stuck in the ground. Now, I'm not saying it lazy because there's sometimes you get caught flat footed. There's sometimes we all get caught flat footed, even as official. All of a sudden, oh boy. But it's a penalty that if our feet are moving, we're pretty much not going to have a penalty for the grab and restrict type of scenario.
Correct. Also, high school players, Mike, you played high school. You said I never played it down in high school football in my life. I was a hockey player all through college. So this is, I got this bug because of my dad. My dad was a football official in Pennsylvania years ago, and he also referee or umpired in the Eastern League as a baseball umpire for years. And he gave me that bug, and so since then, that's how I got involved. One thing I've noticed, and it equates to the tiredness of the kids. They get
Yes.
tired, they get lazy, and then their feet stop, and then they start just reaching out and grabbing or hooking. And if somebody gets by them, they they don't want to get yelled at by the coaches because the kid get right by them, so they'll reach out and grab them or hook them and spin them, whatever they got to do. That, like, on a long series of downs, like you're talking 12 plays, the kids start sucking air, and then that's what happens. They start getting tired. Their whole mechanics get bad. Their whole blocking technique gets horrible, and they just they're just trying to survive at that point.
Yep, Vince Lombardi. Fatigue makes cowards of us all, and cowards can be taken in many different ways. But your technique, you start letting your brain get involved instead of just working your technique, and all of a sudden you got a holding penalty.
Right.
So we got the grab and restrict, which is probably going to be the most common one. What would be the next example that we're looking for to say that, hey, we had a holding penalty there?
Well, the second one would be on your thing. Here's the hook, which is a restriction or a turn. Player reaches across, pulls or restricts the player, similar to the first one, but this time he just basically you like one arms it, and he hooks the guy. So he'll get beat. Like, say you're talking to left tackle maybe, and you have a guy, a defensive end that's on his right, his left shoulder or his on
Yep.
his right side, and he got a good going around. So he'll reach out one arm and try to just grab him like that. So it's bad technique. The defensive player might be just faster than him. He might need a little help from somebody else, like a tight end or something, in the next couple plays because he just can't get out there and reach out to him and get in a proper position. So that's a bad technique, which will lead to a hook, and obviously call a penalty. That happens, like I said, a lot with the tackles on both sides, the right tackle, left tackle, when they just simply get beat on their outside shoulder, and there's no help from behind, like a running back or somebody coming over to help them out, or just chip at the player. So
Correct.
coaches usually will add a tight end there, or may put a slot back there just to help the defensive end, with a chip block or something like that. But that's what a hook is. The guy's just totally beaten. That's his last desperation move, is the hook the off defensive player.
Yep, and like you mentioned, this is typically something you're going to see outside on the edge with a wide defender, and the offensive player, be it a tight end, tackle scenario like that, can't get theirself outside. And going back to what you mentioned with the grab and restrict, all offensive linemen are taught to stay within that breastplate of the shoulder pads and try to keep their hands inside. And once that hand comes outside, now you've got the hook penalty. Now, you see that hook, but then you'll sometimes see the kids working that hook and then readjusting their hands back inside. Are we going to call that one?
You know what? Depending how bad the first part of the play was,
Yep.
he might be able to just stop him, and they both have their feet going, so that's a good point. And then he can reestablish himself, or he could put his hand out there and basically, you know, get him, but then the kid spins on him, and then they're back into their regular position. So you have nothing at that point. It,
Yep.
it all depends how long and detailed the first process is, or the first step that the offensive player makes with the outside hand, or however he initiates the blocking technique.
Yep. Correct. All right. So our third key that we're looking for, what do we got?
Takedown, and this one has to be called 100% of the time. There's no reason
Yep.
for a takedown. It's just a bad football play. Again, kids get lazy. They'll just grab the guy and take him down instead of a good technique. They'll get him inside, and the kid might be the defensive player might be getting away from him, and the offensive player loses his feet. So what's the next thing to do? Just take him down. Um, you might get this on a pulling tackle or pulling guard. They get in a position, and the guy gets the guy he's supposed to get to beats him, and he'll just grab him and take him down to get to quote unquote make his block. But yeah, take down 100% of the time. Even away from the play, you have a takedown. Even on a punt play or something like that, as an umpire, you see a kid taking somebody down and blocking, just yeah, that's an automatic flag at that point.
So one thing that I've been seeing a little bit more and more is on our pass plays is with our tackles. The tackles kind of allowing the defender to go upfield, having their hands inside, but then at that last minute, almost like a hip toss, where
Yeah,
they're literally hands are still inside, but then they're grabbing and they're kind of tossing that player down to the ground. That's a takedown. That's still a penalty. And a lot of the guys, well, my hands were inside. I was moving my feet. Yeah, but you then grabbed and threw him to the ground, and the only way you're going to be able to take that person to the ground is by holding them. So you are
right.
restricting, and going back to what the rule states, you are restricting that opponent from being able to get to the ball carrier or get to the quarterback, or whomever it may be at that point in time.
The other thing, Mike, and whether you probably agree with this, the takedown, if it's egregious enough, it could be a personal foul. Forget the holding; it could be just a personal foul, 15 instead of 10.
Yeah, yeah, I know. We have talked about that as a crew. We've been keeping it just as the hold, unless it's like a malicious takedown, then pile on and dive on and different things like that. So, but yeah, you're absolutely correct. And that leads me
Um,
to a quick question for you.
Go ahead,
You
sir.
do have you do have a clean block. You got a lineman driving the player downfield, and that lineman pancakes the defender, puts that person on their back. They then dive on top of them, and they're keeping them on the ground. You got anything?
I got not disciplined, but I got yelled at one time for calling a holding penalty on that years ago. The
Yep.
kid made a great block, but he just stepped, and what he did is he basically kept the kid by pushing him down on the ground all the time. And I threw a penalty on that, and I got you know a ding for it. But yeah, you have to really stay on top of that and get them out of there. I guess you have nothing at this point, but it could lead to like again a personal foul.
Yeah.
Unnecessary stuff going on down there. There's no reason. The play's 20 yards down the field. There's no reason to continue pushing the guy down on the ground. Both of you are out of the play. You're not going to do nothing to the play at that point. So it's a good talking to. And if you
Yes.
see it again, then hey, guy, I'm gonna have to throw the flag on you, and you're gonna cost your running back or receiver a good play downfield.
Yep, that's exactly my mindset too with it, because what happens with that is if you're on top of that defender is now doing something to try to get out from there. They're not just going to be lying there, and that's where now you start getting that extracurricular. So I'm always talking to them, let them up, get them up, move, keep
Yeah.
going, plays downfield. Just again reminding them, and then if I have to, I'll grab the kid and say, hey man, that was a hell of a block you got there. You got a pancake. Move on then. Find somebody else. Go get somebody else. There's no reason to dive on them and keep them pinned down to the ground.
Now here's a case where we talked about in the beginning, Mike, defensive holding. you could have a reverse takedown.
Yes. Yep.
You got to watch that. So if it's a defensive player doing that to the offensive player, you got a holding penalty there too, where it's a reverse takedown by the defensive guy who got beat, and he's just going to bring the kid down with him to say, hey, listen, he pancaked me or whatever, and technically it's a holding penalty.
So now, adding to that, and I've actually now seen it a couple times on both sides of the ball, where either lineman, whomever it may be, offensive or defensive, at the snap of the ball, they're literally reaching across, grabbing the top of the shoulder pads, and pulling that player straight down to the ground in front of them. That technically is a hold.
It
That's a
is.
takedown. That's a grab and restrict. I mean, you can give either one of those examples in that scenario, and I'm seeing that both offensively and defensively. Defensively, if it's a defensive lineman, if it's just one on one, I'm probably going to keep the flag in the pocket. But when an offensive lineman is doing that and throwing that defensive lineman down to the ground on a pass play, I got to call that one.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's a great, and especially you're going to get that on this run pass option plays.
Yes.
You're going to see a lot of it there. Defensive guy will just take the guy down to get to the player because he's got to get to the quarterback who has the option at that point to run the ball, pitch the ball, or throw the ball. So yeah, you got to really be careful. It's a good, like you said in the beginning, good preventive officiating is just talk to these kids. Hey, guys, you can't do that. You're getting very close to having a defensive hold instead of an offensive hold or a takedown, defensive takedown. Uh, you know, Communication with these young players, and they are young. I mean, we're getting older, but they're still basically the 16, 17-year olds they are. That helps them a lot, and they know where you're coming from, and maybe the coaches don't like it because you're trying to help them out a little bit, but you are helping out the players. Say you can't do that. That's illegal.
And the thing that to reiterate with that is I'm going to give the same courtesy to both teams. So when the
Yes.
coaches are sitting there yelling at me, oh, well, you should have called that, well, coach. I'm going to give your guys the same courtesy that I'm giving them too, because we are all still trying to teach them the game. And if I could teach them and have them learn that lesson without throwing the flag, let's work it that way. But then if they continue to do it, we got to throw it. We got to let them know that okay, that's not acceptable. Let's move on from that.
But those are the three basic examples of holding on both sides of the ball, especially the takedown one. And you got to be, especially with the defensive takedowns or the reverse takedowns on the defensive guys during a happens during a lot of kicking plays. Like you'll see the guys with the punting or on a extra point or a field goal attempt. They'll pull the offensive guy on top of them and say they were being held or whatever.
Yep. So now my next slide I got up here, and I mentioned that holding is possibly the hardest one to master because it is still very subjective. Uh, well, I mean, heck, a lot of the live ball penalties that we can call are subjective. It's the dead ball penalties that are kind of the easy ones, the false starts, the illegal formations, different things like that. But the holding, you always hear the quotes. There could be a hold on every single play, and for the most part, they're probably right. But if you skip down to the last bullet point on this slide, if it's not impacting the play itself, we're not throwing it.
Right, 100%. Yeah, if the ball is 25 yards away from you and there's no way the defensive player can make a play on the ball, and actually the play is dead at that point, it might be already tackled. You're not going to call. You're going to talk to the offensive player or the defensive player. Say, guy, if this ball came to our side of or to your side of the field, there was going to be a holding penalty on you for 10 yards. You just simply can't do that.
Yep.
And again, preventive officiating is communicating with the kids, tell them what they're doing. Sometime whispering to coaches, "Hey, coach, talk to him about his technique a little bit. Like he can't come up with his arms around the body; he's got to be inside. Stuff like that."
So my last slide here before we get into a couple of clips is just something that I personally will go through, and I know as a crew we talk about pregame, and it's just our processing when we're thinking of throwing a flag. I mean, and I say thinking, it's not something that you could sit there and take 5, 10, 15 seconds with. You gotta understand it. But there's four things that come through my mind when I talk about with the holding penalty. And the first one, did I see the whole thing? Bruce, you and I were talking about the umpire position, and in one of my upcoming episodes, we're going to talk about the umpire possibly moving to the offensive backfield, which I know some state associations have already worked on. But there's some times where I miss a hold as an umpire because I'm backpedaling. I'm getting myself clear of a linebacker or a pulling guard or even the running back coming straight to me. So did I see the whole action? Did I see the full play? If I didn't, I'm not going to throw it. I can't make an assumption that there was that there was a hold when I didn't see the whole thing. The second one, which you and I just talked about, was it at the point of the attack? Third one, was there an advantage given to one of the players, or was the opponent taken and put in a disadvantaged position because of that hold? And then the last one is, did it affect the outcome of the play? So I have on here, let it marinate. And what I mean by marinate is you get a good piece of steak, you want to let it marinate, you want to let it sit for a little bit and absorb all those juices. Don't rush to throw the flag. Make sure you have all four of these things before you throw in that flag. Mentally say to yourself, yeah, that was a hold. And if I do throw that, I want to go back to those three categories. I want to be able to walk over to the sideline and tell the coach, I had to grab and restrict on 75. That's why we threw it. I don't want to say, well, it looked like a hold. We want to be able to explain to the coaches what we saw, how we saw it, and be able to have all of these bullet points right there.
If I can expand on number one first, did you see all the action? We talked before, Mike, about wash. You're in the defense with the linebackers, and you try to stay even with the linebackers, so you're about 7-8 yards off the line of scrimmage. Well, those linebackers are shooting gaps, and if there's a play in, like, one of your keys looks like it's going to be a hold, and then the linebacker cuts in front of you, you're not going to see the whole play. So it would not be fair to throw a flag on that. You got all the action, and sometimes players cutting in front of you, just blocks your vision, and you really can't make the call.
Yep. And again, that's where now having with New Jersey, with our 6-man mechanics, we're keeping our short wings on the line of scrimmage. They're now able to help out and see the edge type plays, the tight ends, the tackles, different things like that to help us out, where I'm mainly focusing on our interior, center and both guards. Yes, I am still keeping the tackles in my view, and I do have them as my key. But I know that I've also got help on the wing with those guys too. So it helps with that. And again, our R in the backfield is looking at the right tackle because they're staying on the right side. So, but yeah, you definitely want to make sure you do see all the action. And that is one of the negatives of being on the defensive side, is we have so much stuff going on in front of us. So much movement, shifts, the stems, the pulls, the down blocks. I'm looking for the high lows. I'm looking for the illegal cut blocks, all that type of stuff. So again, and that's all these categories are going to fall into any flag that I throw. So it's not just a hold penalty, but I want to make sure that I see all of the action.
Right. 100%.
All right. So I'm going to close out this slide here. I'll stop sharing that screen. And now, Bruce, I got a couple of video clips that I want to show you and let us talk about. Again, for those that are just listening at home, you're not going to obviously be able to see these, but you're going to see a couple clips, and I'll talk our way through it, where maybe there wasn't a flag thrown, maybe there should have been a flag thrown. So let's just kind of see what your thoughts are with them. So our first one coming up here should be popping up for you, Bruce. Are you able to see that there?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right. So this one we're gonna focus on our outside, on our bottom here. We got a very tight bunch package and an outside sweep going. And let me kind of just backtrack it again. You're going to notice it looks like number 4 here in red. I'm not 100% certain. Kind of has a grab and restrict, or you could even possibly categorize this one into a hook.
Yeah, his technique is a little bad for sure. Um, it was at the point of attack, and he did, I guess he held number one up a little bit there. Looks like the player was involved. So, to me, don't know who would get that. With all the wash in front of the umpire, that's going to be a referee call, I think.
So we actually got this one. This was my crew. We got this one with our short wing here. He was able to
Okay.
see it because right about, oh, I just tried pausing it. So what happens is the play is looking to run, and it looks like it's a short yard. Actually, yes, it's 4th and 1. I'm looking up at the sticks up top. It's 4th and 1. So we're going to be crashing, but the play looks like to be going off tackle with a very tight bunch formation to the right side. But then the running back kind of bounces it outside. So this is where now we got a little bit of a change of a point of the attack. So now the defender is looking to come off that play, and they kind of get grabbed and restricted from being able to bounce off when that running back bounces it outside. So he's kind of taking it in. So we were able to get that one there. So
Right.
there's one example for you.
That's a
Again,
good
there's
call
our
because he definitely two things he did. He got number four. Number four got number one with a hook, with a grab and restrict, and his technique was bad because his first movement with his right arm was to outside the frame of the body.
yep. All right. So our next play here. So we're going to focus on the left tackle up top. Oh, we froze for a second. Let me rewind it. So we're going to focus on the left tackle. So we got a drop back pass. Okay. Good solid punch. But now we got a couple things going on there.
Yeah.
So let me rewind it one more time. So it looks like the offensive tackle is grabbing and restricting right there, almost taking him down. But then the defender does a hip toss and takes down the offensive lineman. So
Right.
what are your thoughts on that one? Oh, and then we got a late
Uh,
hit at the end of the play.
yeah. You're going to offset these for sure. I think the first action caused the reaction by the defensive guy, and if you look really close, it looked like the offensive guy's technique was horrible. He had him around his helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I get the kid being frustrated. Maybe he gets a talk to, but definitely have a hold right there. I mean, right there, the big guy's beat already to his outside, and
Yep.
we talked about that before. So there's your grab and restrict or your hook, and you know, at this point, I don't know if this is your crew or not. I don't know what you have here, but yeah, you have a lot of yellow hankies on the flag. But this is good call. This is a good get by the referee. I guess the left tackle is his key in a six-man crew. And to me, it's a good get.
Yep. So I'm definitely throwing the offensive holding on this one. And again, we got our short wing is in position there to read that because his key is vacated. So we got that quick takedown there. All right, so we're 2 for 2 here. Let's see,
But
play number 3.
I don't know. Again, I don't know if that was your crew mic or not. But as somebody you should talk to the other kid for throwing him down. Hey, we know you got held, but you can't. You can't do that wrestling move you did, basically.
Yep. And that's what I think we have on this next one here. And yeah, so these are all just different crews from our association, but this one is actually my crew here. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, we got our left tackle up top. So this is that pull down that we were talking about before, and I'm not going to lie, I missed this one. So you see the left tackle, and I
Yeah,
paused it a
he,
little bit
he
too
yanked.
early.
No, you got a good thing there. He yanks and
Right
pulls
there.
him down. Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a hold there. You
So, and
can't
that's
do that.
one with the release of the ball. I snapped my head around to try to help with incomplete and complete pass. So I kind of missed it. It happened right at the end of the play. So that's one that I missed. That's definitely a hold that I missed. And looking back, it did fall into the categories.
Yes, it did. And again, maybe the white hat could help you out there because he's looking right through the quarterback to the left tackle. Maybe he can help out a little bit with that play.
All right, what do we got for number 4? Number 4 is the same scenario. All right, play number 5. This one, we're going to look out on the edge. So we have a quarterback. So we've got a zone read play going on. Quarterback is meshing with the running back. Running back goes inside. Quarterback keeps it and then takes it to the outside. And it looks like their lead block
27.
right here,
Right
right in the
there.
middle of the field. Yep. When the quarterback pulls it, running back took a bad angle. And now you've got to grab and restrict. Okay, and that was right at the point of the attack right there.
And if you look at 27's reaction, he knew he got caught. And again, you just say, listen, big guy, just push the kid. Don't reach out. Just push him. If you push him an inch or 2 inches one way, he's going to not be able to make the play.
All right. So this one now, we got an option play. Okay, we actually had a missed call on that one, but then we make up for it. So we get an illegal crack block first, which was missed. This was a mixed crew that we had here, which still not excusable. So we got that. But then right on the edge, as the receiver gets out to the edge, you got both hook and grab and restrict. They're running a little rocket toss here out of an option look.
Oof.
Cross blocking.
Oof. I saw the blindside block or the crackback you missed. Yeah. And yes, it was a good call on the outside on this one player here. He definitely restricted him. He grabbed and hooked. He did basically all three because he took him down too.
So talking now keys and like we talked about earlier. So here's the mechanics one that our short wing, we talked about this after the game. Because of that cross block, he's looking at number one as a short wing. Deep wing's looking at number two. Well, the mechanic kind of switched in his head. And when they did that down block and he saw number two coming outside, he switched his key, which is why he was able to get that hold. But our deep official didn't switch that key. And again, this was a mixed crew. This is why I love that we are 90% with crews because we're working with each other. They know what you're looking at. You know what they're looking at. Well, this one, they kind of just did a mental swap, but they weren't on the same page. And that's why we missed that crack block because number one ends up cracking down, but he picks up number two and is able to get the hold right at the point of the attack.
Yeah. Unfortunately, mixed crews do have that. Again, got to have a head on a swivel type thing too, because once again, the ball's being run to the outside. The white hat is the cleanup guy at that play, so he could have possibly caught that. I mean, possibly, reaching for straws here, but yeah, you got to get a little help from everybody on the field. The one guy that probably couldn't get it would be the umpire because he has all that stuff in front of him, all those players washed out in front of him. He would not be able to see that crackback.
Yep. All right, we got one more. I got to see which one this is. All right. So again, looks like we got a double wing formation here, a little flex bone look. So
it'd be the right guard, it looks like?
Right, it looks like the right guard on this one. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So drop back pass, almost a little bit of a sprint out action. And right guard, and this goes back now. My categorization didn't move his feet.
Nope, he got beat, and when you get beat, you're gonna go back to just survival at that point, and the survival is grab and hold, or grab and restrict, or a takedown.
Yep. So those are just some of the clips of some different calls, missed, made. Okay. But I think those videos show a good idea of what we are looking for. And again, breaking down those ideas of what our keys are, how we're trying to focus in on the plays. And again, I'm putting some of those plays on my crew's shoulders, the crew that I was with, because I missed a holding penalty. Again, I'm human. I missed that one. Went back on huddle. I saw it and it was like, damn, I missed that. I gotta really key in on that. But again, our thought process, let it marinate, see the whole play. All those things are the key things that a lot of coaches don't understand because Well, the offensive line coach, they're watching their offensive lineman. The defensive line coach, they're watching their defensive lineman. So sometimes they're so hyper focused on an individual where we're trying to get the big picture. We do sometimes miss the calls, and that's coming now more and more experience. We're kind of eliminating that, but you're going to get that with mixed crews, younger crews, different things like that of unfortunately missing a call here or there.
Yeah, yeah. Grass time helps out a lot for sure, and having the same six people do the game over and over again also helps out because you know what your fellow officials' strong points or weak points are, and they know what yours are. So it does help out a lot.
Absolutely. Well, Bruce, we are just about at the hour mark here, so I
Okay.
don't want to keep you much longer. Once again, I appreciate that you took the time out of your day, and I know you. I think you got another game tonight too that you're going to work.
Yeah, we got a game tonight over in Somerville. We got school coming in from Uniondale, New York. Kellenberg Memorial High School is playing Immaculata in I guess, a crossover game, whatever you want to call it. And I'm hoping the kids from Uniondale left early this morning because they're catching a lot of short traffic.
Yeah, yep. For those that we're recording this on Labor Day weekend, so we're all going to be sitting in some Jersey Shore traffic going up and down the Parkway here. But once
100%.
again, thank you, Bruce, for taking the time out, and for all the listeners out there. Again, please take a look at the websites. Go to the YouTube channel. Take a look, especially with this episode. You'll get a good view of some of these videos. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening and you enjoy what you're doing and you want to help support the show, you can click the link here. You can buy me a beer. I do like to have a cocktail every once in a while after a game. My crew and I, we always go and sit around and talk post game about what was going on. So help me buy around, and we do have some jokes with our crew. If we drop a ball, you're buying that round. So if you want to help me out, I appreciate that. You can always go to the site. But again, hit like, hit subscribe, hit all those things that don't cost you anything too. So much appreciated, Bruce. Once again, thank you very much. Have a safe game tonight and have a great season.
You too, Mike. Thank you for the opportunity. I do appreciate it. And, help one guy out. We helped out a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you once again.
Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Whistle Talk, where we unravel the fascinating world of football officiating. If you enjoyed today's discussion and want to stay in the loop with the latest insights, be sure to subscribe to Whistle Talk on your favorite podcast platform. Stay connected with us by following Whistle Talk on social media, where we share behind-the-scenes glimpses, updates, and engage with our incredible community of officiating enthusiasts. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Just search for the words Whistle Talk. Your support means the world to the show, and we'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or suggestions for future episodes. Drop us a line through our website or message me on social media. I'm always eager to connect with the fellow fans and continue the conversation. Until next time, keep blowing the whistle on the untold stories and nuances of football officiating. Thanks for being a part of the Whistle Talk family. This is Mike D., the referee, saying so long for now.